Let's talk about discipline. A lot of people think of discipline as punishment. Not so. Discipline is a tool that we as parents have which will enable us to help our children to grow and to become better people. It's an opportunity. It's something positive. Now, when a child is misbehaving, hence the need for discipline, look at 4 different areas. Children misbehave because they are seeking attention. They misbehave because they're looking for power. They misbehave because they're looking for revenge, or maybe they misbehave simply because they lack self-confidence. Now, attention seeking is probably the most easily recognized. These are the kids that are out there making noise when you're trying to concentrate on something else. They're the ones that are being clowns. They're the ones that are drawing attention away from whatever else needs to be done. And frequently, you'll notice them when you're on the telephone or when you're in conversation with another adult. This is the child that's clinging to you and kind of trying to pull you away when you're talking to your spouse. One of the ways that you can judge, if it's not real obvious to you, one of the ways you can judge what behavior, which of the 4 areas the misbehavior belongs in, is by your reaction to it. Now, if your child is attention seeking, if they're trying to pull you away from whatever it is that you are trying to focus on, your reaction is going to be one of annoyance. If you feel annoyed with your child's behavior, it's pretty obvious that they're attention seeking. Now, you've got a couple of options. You can scream, yell, and become a child yourself, which isn't usually very effective. Even if the child is mollified for the moment, it just is going to increase the behavior the next time. Or you can look for an opportunity for growth and learning on the child's behalf. If the child is seeking attention, what's the message to us? The child needs more attention. The question is, how can we help the child to get attention in a more positive and more appropriate way? So the message for us is, at this point, we need to be very firm and let them know that this is not appropriate right now. But at the same time, we need to give them other avenues for appropriate attention, so that when we need to talk to our spouse, when we need to talk to a friend, when we are on the telephone, they're not interrupting whatever it is that we are in the process of doing. The second area that misbehaving behaviors fall into is power. And kids that are looking for power, control, have you ever felt, and that is probably one of the worst things, is while you're feeling a need for control and your child's feeling a need for control, there are no winners. In fact, actually what generally happens is, again, if we don't respond appropriately, we fall down to the level of our children, and we have essentially 2 kids kicking and screaming, both wanting the power, both wanting the control. So again, the long-term solution is to look for ways that you can give your child some power and some control without it becoming a power struggle. One of the things that I found most effective, both as a parent and as a teacher, and also as a counselor, is to give an illusion of control or an illusion of power by giving choices. For instance, would you like the Brussels sprouts or the green beans? Now, ultimately, you wanted a green for dinner. They've gotten a choice between one or the other. And you may know that they're always going to choose the green beans, but that's okay. That you've given them a choice. They're more apt to eat it if they have a say in what the choice was. You can give them a choice between, do you want this toy or do you want that toy? If you can give them choices, and I control the choices, hold it down to 2, possibly 3 at the most, but give them choices. Do you want this or that? Shall we do this or that? Then you've got a little bit more equity. They don't feel quite as much a need to push control over on you, and you don't feel quite as threatened. And if you feel threatened, you need to recognize that you are in the process of having a power struggle with your child. And I have to tell you, when you're in a power struggle with your child, even when you win, you'll lose. So that's not the way you want to go. Now, the third area is one that's a little bit more difficult to deal with. The child who's angry and seeking revenge on the world at large, seeking revenge on individuals. Frequently, it's very subtle, but it calls forth anger on your own behalf. And when you've got two people that are angry, again, they're not going to be any winners. So what can you do? What you need to do is back off. What you need to do is try to see what's making this child feel so angry. Is he being bullied at school? If that's the situation. What can you do? And these are all long-term. What can you do to help provide some safety? Remember the safety needs that we talked about with Maslow. If he's angry because of whatever, try to look for a cause. Become your own Dick Tracy and see what it is that's creating that need for revenge on his behalf. And try very hard as a parent not to fall into the trap of anger on your part. Now the last one is probably the most common that I see in school-age children, and it's a lack of self-confidence. It's a need to feel as though they can do something. Now, again, when we talked Maslow, that need for competence, there are certain things that have to be met first. They have to have a sense of belonging. They have to have a feeling that they can do things successfully. And that's basically what's happened is, for some reason in these children's lives, they don't feel like they are competent. They feel like no matter what they do, it's going to be doomed to failure. You've met these doom and gloom children and adults, I'm sure. No matter how they handle it, it's just not going to work. You as a parent are going to know this, that this is where they're coming from, because you're going to feel frustrated. You'll find yourself essentially, not realistically, but essentially just wanting to shake them and say, yeah, get up and get going. You can handle this. It's not that big a deal. Here's what you need to do. And again, we're talking long term. You need to start building some successes into their life. Find things that they can do successfully. So, that all being said, when you find your child misbehaving, you need to start asking some questions. Try to find out what's behind the misbehavior, what's behind that behavior. What need is your child feeling? How can you teach them appropriate ways to behave? And that's a big one. How can you help them to behave appropriately? And how can you use each situation to make them a better child? How can you use each situation as a learning experience? Thank you.